up, everybody? I'm Dr. Winners, and we got some USA going on. We got the World Cup winning. We just had a UFC at the White House. That was crazy. I mean, 250th birthday of America is coming up soon. And you know what also is great about America? Our good teeth. And that's because of people like me who educate you guys every single week on the craziest videos that you guys tag me in. And this week, you guys tagged me in some crazy ones. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, what do you guys? Oh my goodness gracious. That girl didn't lose one teeth. She lost a whole lot. Okay, so, wait, she's getting some wax? And just sticking some wax on there. Huh, you know, just a little wax can sell. It's like the duct tape of the tooth world, that wax. But for real though, obviously, you guys tagged me a ton in this, said, Bentist, what the heck? Why is all of her teeth moving? Is braces really that dangerous? Gonna rip all my teeth out? And no, the answer is no. And you know, although you can, if you have really bad periodontal disease, gum disease, you get braces, you can cause problems like that where you will ruin your teeth over time. This is why it's really important to go see an orthodontist to do your braces. But in this case, more than likely, this girl, for whatever reason, is missing all these lower teeth. Developmentally, whatever, she's missing these teeth. And so what we do is we put these things called Pontics, little plastic teeth, in the area of the room while you're doing braces, so you don't have a giant gap there. And while it does work for one tooth, well, when you've got like 5 teeth like that, they're just kind of hanging on to nothing, and there's not really anything you can do about that. I mean, that's not something that really works that well when you got that many fake teeth. So especially in these earlier wires, like this thin flexible one that this girl's in, well, it just comes out and causes a bunch of problems. So my guess is she was using the wax to maybe implant it down or something. I don't know if there's really a better way to do this. You could like bond sometimes like an entire metal band behind the back to kind of glue it onto the teeth a little bit and hold it a little bit better. But yeah, there's not really much you can do. I mean, you can get implants and stuff after the fact, but during the middle of braces, it's really tough. So sometimes you just have to leave the gap there. And then Jan says, me with braces on seeing this. Don't worry, they're fake teeth, not real teeth. And as long as you brush and floss, you're gonna be just fine. Guiglia. Yeah, I'm scared too when I saw this at first. But you know, luckily I'm an orthodontist and I knew exactly what was going on. We can just hope that these aren't real teeth, because if they are, she's got bigger problems than braces. All right, what do we got? Ooh, a rubber dam tutorial. Okay, yeah, this is great. So yeah, first you got to put that rubber dam clamp. You saw him poking some holes there. And so yeah, there we go. He's poking the holes now. We used to have a stamp that did this, but he was doing it by marking. And he's, look at him, he's adding a little lubricant there because you got to slide it on over the teeth. Now this is because like when you have an infection, like a cavity, things like that, when we're getting all that infection out, everything like that, we don't want stuff to infect that area, right? We don't want saliva, bacteria, other things getting into this nicely cleaned area that we're putting a filling in, because we don't want it to get it reinfected. Okay, looks like he's doing something with some floss here, building a little lasso loop ligature thing. I wonder what that's. Oh, I'm confused at what he's doing there. I don't know. Oh, he's using it to kind of pull the rubber dam down onto the tooth to kind of tighten it down in there. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that before. That's kind of nice. And so what it's doing is it's basically just holding everything down there so that he can get in there and clean that molar off, do it. And then the final thing you want to do is this isolation check, basically so the water is not leaking. So that means that there's no saliva coming in and out of the area. But yeah, rubber dams are super cool. They're super efficient at keeping the area clean. Because like I said, the last thing we want to do is once we get all that bacteria out there is for your saliva or something to get in there to not only reinfect the area potentially, but also sometimes, you know, water, things like that can affect the bond, and it can make that bond fail of that new, you know, filling material or crown or whatever that we're doing in the area. Kimberly says that clamp looks painful as hell. And actually, yeah, that clamp can be really painful, but especially if you have like gum poofiness up on there, because it's really sharp. So when it clamps on there, if you don't get it perfectly on the tooth and you get it in that gum tissue, yeah, you can cause some bleeding and it can really hurt. And then Doc Talk said, can the patient breathe? And yes, actually they can. Normally we try and cut it around the nose so that they can breathe out through the nose. It is really hard to breathe through the mouth. You can technically do it because it can kind of flap out the sides. But most of the time we try until you basically kind of like do that. And your tongue and everything is still normal behind that rubber dam. It's really just that one area that we're kind of, you know, blocking off to keep everything dry and isolated. And then lastly, Jude says, what is this procedure for? Well, it's normally for anything really. I mean, a filling, a crown, a root canal, things like that. Now, obviously most dentists don't use rubber dams for everything, especially small fillings, things like that. But for bigger procedures like root canals and crowns and stuff like that, it's definitely a lot more normal to see a rubber dam used. But some dentists don't use it at all because they have better isolation methods with other different ways of rubber dams, but rubber dam is the gold standard. All right, why did no one tell me that? Cavities are infectious, they literally spread. So it looks like she's using a little proxy brush in there to clean between the teeth. Now, I'm gonna actually pause it right here. You can see, obviously, you know, she's got all these past cavities that have kind of came from one tooth all the way down to the other teeth in that area, right? And now there's something really important to know. Now, obviously those aren't current cavities, those are fillings, those are amalgam fillings, which are metal. But the fact remains is that in that entire area, she got the infection of a cavity and they had to get rid of it by doing drillings and fillings and all that. What I'm trying to really harp on here is that cavities, yes, are infectious. And the reason is that they spread via bacterial infection. So it is a bacteria that is causing the problem. It is not sugar, it is not acid, it is not all these things. All those things can contribute to the final act of getting a cavity, but cavity is basically solely meant by this one bacteria called strep mutans, S mutans. And when you're born, you can't get cavities. That's kind of crazy to think. It's only when your mother gives you this bacteria, and sometimes you don't even get it. Sometimes you get lucky, your mom doesn't have a lot of strep mutans in her mouth, and you're the type that never has to brush their teeth and you never get cavities. But the fact remains is that yes, it works this way, not the other way. So you basically brush and floss to get that bacteria removed every single day as it regrows over and over again for the rest of your life. Now that's actually why we developed our Zero Pro with the BioFuse technology. It's the first ever biotech toothpaste that uses these things called nanolipid emulsions to directly target and attack that bacteria and get rid of just solely strep mutans as well as P. We target 2 different bacteria. And that's really important because before that, there was really nothing that targeted the bacteria. There was xylitol, and xylitol actually works pretty good. We actually have xylitol in here, but that's an indirect way of targeting that bacteria. It's not direct. So basically what that does is it tries to compete for sugar to starve out the bacteria because the bacteria eat sugar. The problem is if you're doing xylitol, that's great, but if you're still eating candies and sweets, you're still powering that bacteria either way. So it's gonna help, but it's not gonna be direct. Ours is actually directly attacking. I actually got rid of 99.9% of strep mutans in my mouth in 8 days. And in our double-blind human study we did, it was they reduced it 50% in 14 days, and it just keeps reducing it as you use it. Now you're gonna see more products that come out all over, not just oral care, that use these nanolipid emulsions and these new techniques of getting rid of bacteria without having an antibacterial medication that you're taking. But it's really, really important for people to know because this is the first thing that could really directly reduce that bacteria, stopping you from getting cavities, which is really awesome. And so, yes, the first step though is to let people know that they are infectious and they spread. And it's not due to genetics, it's actually just because the bacteria in your mouth. And then Odyssey says, xylitol gum, hydroxyapatite toothpaste, and coconut oil oregano are my holy grail. And so, I mean, the xylitol is great. Like I said, we use xylitol in our toothpaste, but it's indirect and it takes a lot of time. And if you're still eating sugar, it's not an end-all be-all. Hydroxyapatite or nano hydroxyapatite particularly really just basically repairs the damage caused by these bacteria. It doesn't actually deal with the bacteria directly. And oil oregano, that's not gonna really do anything to these bacteria. And so really the only thing in the world are these nanolipid emulsions right now. And we're the only product in the world that does this in the oral care sector. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome. And then Nicole Pierce says, fact, they can go from person to person as well. Exactly, that's how you get it. Your mother kisses you, drinks after you, you kiss somebody, you lick a block in play school, and then somebody else grabs it and licks the block. You know, it transmits that way. Know that it's contagious. Know that you can swap these bacteria back and forth, which can cause the problem, strep mutans, and then now know that there's finally a way to do with it with these new nanolipid emulsions and biotech. I'm sure we're not going to be the only people that have ever come out with this in the future, but right now we are the only one to put it out in the market, and you can actually get it right now. It's pretty crazy. And if you don't get our toothpaste, that's totally fine. As long as you're brushing, flossing, and really taking care of your teeth every single day, you can at least keep those bacteria at bay. But if you want to reduce them directly, that's really the only way to do it is with our biotech nanolipid emulsions. This small white dot is ruining my life. It hurts so bad. Canker sore or what? Okay, no, that is not a canker sore. That small white dot is an inflamed taste bud, more than likely. And yes, they are very painful. Your tongue actually has a lot of nerves in it, weirdly enough, you know, and so when you get this inflamed taste bud that sits there, well, guess what? It's really painful. And there's not really much you can do. I mean, it can be physical, like you bit on it and cause it to inflame. Sometimes it can be dietary. There's really nothing I know of. You know, if it stays inflamed, sometimes you can get it removed, but it's like, it is kind of a weird thing. And it is just one of those things you just got to wait out and it normally goes away. But it is not a canker sore. Canker sores are the kind of white things you see on these loose tissue here that kind of look like craters. They're called aphthous ulcers, and those are also very painful. And you also have to wait about 10 days for those to go away. King Carter says, I have the same thing right now and I can't do. Well, yes, that's true. You really can't do anything other than just deal with it. It's one of those things. Just deal with it. There we go. Alex came in. It'll go away in a few days. It's just a swollen taste bud. And yes, it is. Ooh, we got some advice here. It's just a swollen taste bud. It happens when your immune system didn't like the food you ate, and it also happens when you're low on vitamins. I hope this helped. And actually, I do believe I've seen studies where it does have to do with some foods that you've eaten. I don't know about the immune system part. And I actually do think there is something with low on vitamins too.
A few moments later.
So actually, it does say a lack of iron, zinc, or B complex vitamins like B12 and folate can also happen due to dry mouth and to stress and acid reflux GERD. So whenever I start seeing like a ton of different reasons like that, well, more than likely it just means we don't really know. We don't really know why it happens. Everything causes it. So you just got to wait it out, and then hopefully it will go away and stop causing you problems. All right, how I attach my headgear without my expander in. Okay, so he was doing a double whammy there. Yeah, so this is cool. Let's watch him do it. So obviously we have some little hooks there on the front of the braces to pull us. Now this is what we call a reverse pull face mask, okay? And so that basically means we're pulling from the front this direction, okay? And so the cool part about that is that basically what this does is it increases his upper jaw forward. So, normally when we're doing this, if you don't have jaw issues, we can just use regular rubber bands. So if you have an underbite and we're just going from here to here, we go down from here to here, and it pulls everything the other direction. Now, if we're trying to physically grow the upper jaw without affecting much else, well, then we need anchorage points, and we need to pull from that guy right there. Now, this is a way that you can kind of basically do a surgery without doing a surgery. Now, normally what I would say is you would want to do this on a kid, 9, 10, 11 even. Now, he looks like he's almost 18, 16, 17, 18, which means that he's going to get less growth than he would have if he would have been going through puberty. So a little unfortunate that he didn't get to it too early, but for the most part, works pretty good. The really issue that I see with this and what I've always seen is just patient compliance. So you're going to give this to a patient, and if they're not fully bought in, like obviously this guy's probably into the looks maxing trends and everything, so he really is important. He wants to do this, but most people don't care, don't want to wear their headgear, and so that's why we've switched more to just wearing regular rubber bands on the braces versus doing headgear now. And then if you really have a discrepancy in your jaw, you get a jaw surgery or something like that. But this can definitely work if you use it and you're really, really serious about doing it all the time. Carla Spam says, OMG, I had one of these in the 2nd grade. Now see, 2nd grade, that would have been a way better time to be doing this because you actually would have physically been moving the jaws. Really good. Allison said, that's weirdly attractive. I'm not gonna lie, back in my day, headgear was not attractive. But you know what? The pendulum swings and it always goes back and forth. So I guess maybe they're cool now. Looks fire, not gonna lie. Okay, maybe it is. Maybe headgear are cool. Maybe I should start reintroducing headgear into the practice just because, people love it nowadays. And, I'm all in for helping some skeletal growth move along there. But I don't know, you let me know, is headgear cool now or is it not cool? Let me know. You think you can hurt me? I had all my teeth pulled at 24 years. Oh my gosh, what do we got here? Yeah, she got them pulled all right. Oh man, she got all on, that's all on like 6, she got like 6 or 7 implants up top. Girl got a Rolls Royce in her mouth. She says, but so worth it. I love my spikes. Okay, I mean, a lot of thoughts here. Now, obviously, one thing we're not going to do is I'm not going to come in and I'm not going to theorize about why she doesn't have her teeth. Really, there's only 3 different reasons normally that happen that I see people lose their teeth. Normally, it's due to some genetic condition. You get like, your enamel doesn't form right, or your dentogenesis imperfecta or something like that. And then eventually it's just easier to just pull them, get rid of them, Another thing is you could be missing teeth. Another genetic thing, you could have hypodontia, severe hypodontia. I don't know. Another thing, obviously, is just dental neglect, aka you didn't take care of your teeth, you didn't brush them. A lot of times this is due to your family, actually, because if no one teaches you to brush your teeth, your parents don't care if you ever brush your teeth. They give you sodas at night. They don't care. They don't teach you. They don't educate you. They don't take you to the dentist. You're not gonna have a good time with your teeth health. And then they ended up getting rotted over time, and then you got to pull them and take them out, and it's too late. And then the third one is obviously different drug use, things like that. Like I said, not saying that she does that. It could be a mix of all 3. It could be none of them. Could be one of them. I don't know. She could have done it just for fun. But regardless, this happens sometimes. And it's unfortunate to see in a 24-year-old because they're so young. And it's like, man, I wish, actually, that's one of the reasons why I do all the education I do, is so hopefully if your parents don't educate you on taking care of your teeth, maybe you can at least learn something from me. And then you're like, hey, I know you didn't teach me to brush my teeth, but the dentist says to brush your teeth and floss and take care of it, and how cavities are formed and strep mutans and bacteria and all these cool things. And maybe I can at least save one tooth out there. And I feel like after 7 years, 8 years, and billions of you educating you guys, hopefully I have saved some teeth out there. I really hope so. But needless to say, if you are gonna lose all your teeth, she did it the exact perfect way I would do it. Now it's very expensive to do, but it is the way to do it. And she got implants all over her upper teeth there, and then that's gonna snap in a really nice denture. It's gonna look really good, and it's gonna be solid, and it's gonna protect her bone loss. Because if you don't know, if you get all these teeth removed and you just get into regular dentures, well, your bone like dissolves away over time, and then the dentures don't fit anymore, and you gotta get them remade every year, and the bone just keeps going away and away and away, and then you end up like that old lady that the nose touches the chin, and it's just like, it's bad, you know. So she did the right way to do it. It's just, I wish we could have saved them before they got all removed, but it is what it is. And then Ezra says, so we just not brushing our teeth now? Well, like I said, we don't want to jump to conclusions, but I think we can all agree that we should brush our teeth and floss, because that is one of the reasons why this could happen. So if we brush, we floss, we take care of ourselves, maybe even use some new biotech stuff like our Zero Pro with the nanolipid emulsions, well, we can go ahead and prevent this from happening to us or our kids or our friends. Oh my gosh, the toothless dragon. That's me. That's me. Can't do that, but funny, but me. And then actually she showed a picture of herself there with them in. Someone was being mean and said went from 24 to 94, and she said, I got them back, don't worry. And so you can see just how good they look when they're in. I mean, when you do it the implant way, it actually works really, really good. And they are right though. Like when you lose teeth and you go from no teeth to having teeth, you really do age a lot with that look. So it's pretty crazy to see somebody without teeth and then they go back into their teeth. They look completely different. Either way, I think we all learn, brush your teeth, take care of them, and hopefully you won't be 24 and get all your teeth removed. Hopefully this is a cautionary tale, regardless of why she lost them. All right, what do we got here? Doing some oh, I know exactly where this is going. Oh! Oh my gosh, that tooth is just cracked right diddly in half. That's why I tell you guys, I try and tell you, teeth are not tools. I see everybody biting on everything from pencils to, you know, top end to ripping bags open. Your teeth are meant to chew food, okay? They're not meant for tools to break open things or pop bottle caps or beer bottles or whatever it is. Now this one, normally when we see stuff like this, it's because like you're eating like steak or burger and it's got that gristle in it, that bone, and you just go, and you bite down really hard, accidentally not knowing what it is, because you have protective reasons where your body doesn't want you to bite down hard. And so if you don't know what's in there, you bite down, goes in there, splits it open, you're gonna have that crack. Now, unfortunately, the treatment for this is just basically getting rid of that tooth completely. There's no saving this tooth. Once it's cracked down the middle, you can't do anything about it. You literally just gotta pull that tooth and get an implant. And I tell you, that was probably so painful. Ooh, and a lot of times you don't even know. Actually, it says this patient arrived reporting pain in the dental element that apparently had nothing. I don't know what that means, but yeah, a lot of people don't even know that they broke the tooth. They're just like, this hurts, I'm getting some weird pain here, and then we look at it and sure enough, that tooth is just cracked in half and the nerve is just hanging out, which is absolutely insane. Oh my gosh, the flip-flops like curled in. He's like, yeah, that's probably what I feel every time that thing opens. Oh my gosh, nobody told me I needed a crown after the root canal. Okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, a lot of times we do see teeth crack like this too. It's like they'll get a root canal or something down the middle, and then they don't get a final crown over it. And that basically is like when we whittle out the middle of the tooth, there's nothing there left. And so like there's no support anymore. So the tooth can just crack down the middle sometimes. Well, that's probably what they're talking about. No root canal or crown is gonna save this tooth anymore. It is exactly what Ariana has there, the extraction forceps, which is, we're just gonna pull that bad boy. We're gonna take that guy and rip it out. So, maybe just don't bite down on things. Maybe just use them to chew and eat food like a normal person. Help! Why does my retainer look like this, the Bentist? Hey, that's me. Okay, well, let's look. Okay, it looks like an Essex retainer. Okay, yeah, I see. It's like, it's not fully, it's a little wavy, it's a little movie, it's not covering every single tooth perfectly. And the answer is, it doesn't matter. It's totally okay. That retainer is totally normal. What you saw is the difference between, there are retainers that are pre-made. Like you can go get them from Invisalign, right? They're called Vivera retainers. And those have scalloped margins, or they're actually like digitally printed to match your teeth perfectly and exactly. Okay, what you have is an Essex retainer that was basically taken. They took your model, they put the plastic, they sucked it down on top of that model, and then they just cut it out with some scissors, and then they just polished the edges around. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work or anything like that. It's just, it was handmade with some love and some care. And as long as it's covering a majority of the tooth, like 80-90% of the tooth, you're probably just fine. In fact, we really don't want it going over onto the gum tissue because basically what that can do is cause some gum resorption. It can cause some gum loss, especially if you're picking in the same area. over and over again. So I don't really see any issues with the retainer that you got there. It looks like just a normal Essex retainer that was handmade by somebody in your dental office, which is totally normal, and a majority of dental offices actually do their retainer this way. Someone said they gave you whitening trays as retainers. No, they did not. Whitening trays are totally different. They're floppy and floopy, and they're made of a different material. These are just Essex material, so don't worry about that. Leah said, I would ask for a Holly retainer. And that's the old school retainer with the acrylic and the wire. While those do work pretty well, I do have some problems with that. The metal crosses over the line. Actually, that's how I ground down my tooth, is I ground on that wire on my Holly, and they don't really fully 360 hold that tooth together. They only hold it from the front and back, so that tooth can go up and down. With an Essex retainer, you can also get the up and down solved as well there too. And there we go. We finally got some good stuff there. Essex retainers can come with a straight trim or a scallop trim. Either is fine, really. People just prefer the look of scallop. I actually don't even prefer the look of scallop. I mean, the scalloped I don't really like because it's kind of sharp, and then those edges can bend and break and crack a little bit easier than the straight. So I don't really have an issue at all. And then this Gazal chick says, get them redone. Your teeth will relapse. Look up Essex retainer online. This is an Essex retainer, and no, your teeth are not going to relapse. Your retainer is fine. Just make sure you wear it. As long as you do that, you will have straight teeth and you will be just fine. Now, if you have any cracks or you chew through it or grind through it, just let your orthodontist know so they can make you a new one, okay? You're gonna be just fine. Congrats on getting your braces off. Your teeth look awesome. And thanks for shouting me out. And you know what else would be awesome if you just like and subscribe, because I'm trying to get to 10 million followers so I can get this dang bracket off. And it's gonna be there for the next 3 years if you don't hit that like button. So I love you guys. I'll see you next week. Keep tagging me in the crazy videos. Peace.